Alright, this is going to be my take on a Siegfried guide. Siegfried is one of the new TM raids. I'll specifically be doing stage 5 here with this comp, and I just want to showcase what I'm able to do this comp with, because it's a little different than what other comps run. Taylor is a common pick for tank, no doubts about that. She has an extremely strong kit for this raid. With her attack down from her S4, the flat physical, well, physical and magic defense, but mostly just physical defense here that we need for this boss that's applied to her entire party from her S4 stacking, and then her block removal effect from her S1, which is normally 350 for 8 seconds, gets changed to fixed reduction to 0, so reduces Siegfried's block to 0. This enables you to do significantly more damage than not removing his block, so it's pretty much needed if you want to kill Siegfried in a decent pace or just be able to kill him at all. Defense wise, anyone that's in the front row, you definitely want to make sure that they have block, as they got a block from the start of the fight all the way to the end, and the higher block you put on the frontline heroes, the less block you necessarily need on the backline heroes, though you still want to try to have some on the backline heroes as well. Now, this is the real tip and the real secret to my success. I was not able to do stage 5 until I started using Gao in the comp. A lot of people will use Priscilla because of her damage boosted effects, but I recommend Gao, and here's why. So with Gao, things to know about him. Let's start with his skills. So his S2 provides a 16,000 physical defense buff. This is level 97, so it'll be just a little bit higher at level 100. But in order, and then you also get a 50% increase to that boost from the skill book effects. So you actually end up giving over 24,000 physical defense. Now, a lot of people argue, well, Pris gives physical defense from her T5 Dark, where it's 3% of her physical defense is applied to the party. In order for Pris to give 24,000 physical defense to the whole party, she would need 800,000 physical defense, which is possible, but requires almost all your stat lines being in physical defense and having really nothing else on Pris. I don't think this is a good way to go about this. You're just simply not going to get as much physical defense from Pris as you can from a Gao. Gao additionally also gives a pretty hefty amount of physical attack to the whole party, and good attack speed boosts. Since Siegfried does take additional damage from auto attacks, the attack speed boost is actually extremely valuable. So much so that I did also choose to take the perk for the 200 additional attack speed effect. So he ends up giving a total of 500 attack speed. Now, in addition to that, his S1 has a effect. I believe this was added in one of his buffs recently. They did, I believe, a couple months ago. They added the reduced defense penetration by 250 for 10 seconds. Siegfried does have defense penetration built in. Now, a lot of people reading the skill effects, you'll know that when he gets full mana, his defense penetration is greatly increased for 10 seconds. So people assume, oh, he only gets defense penetration at full mana. That's not true. He actually has defense penetration as a base stat. And it's pretty high because I tested with both Juno and Gao, and I was still getting damage reduction effects from having both Juno and Gao in the party. So, and I was running Juno's anti-defensive defense penetration perk as well. So the boss Siegfried here has over 250 penetration by default. I don't know the exact value that he has. I haven't been able to fully calculate that, but it is over 250. So any defense penetration debuffs you can bring actually has a pretty substantial effect on the damage you take. Additionally, if you have Gao's UT1, he gets a flat attack minus 20%, regardless of how many stars you put on this. Rather, it's 0 star or all the way up to 5 star. The attack reduction is the same, so just having base UT is fine. And Gao doesn't really require a lot of gearing to be set up. You can take his T5 light, you get some extra P block, which is valuable here. You take offensive guard for additional physical reduction. I'm just using a dragon weapon with honestly not very good stats. The boss also has accuracy. I don't know the exact amount. If I had to guess, it's between 2 to 300 accuracy. It is possible to dodge his attacks if you have enough dodge, but you do actually need to invest quite a bit in dodge, because I've run characters with like 600 P dodge and only see them dodge in about a fourth of the time. When 600 P dodge, I mean, Gao here it says 53.3%, but he will actually only dodge around 20 to 25-ish percent of the time. So definitely boss has some accuracy stats as well. Gladdy set up here, run a bunch of P block. He is in the front line. Don't really have him here for damage. He's mostly just to survive, apply amps via vital detection and his S1, and just suit him up with a bunch of block. He has defense ignore on his S4 every couple times he punches. So you just give him some lifesteal, and he's very easy to tank up and survive in the front line. Yeah, 470 lifesteal. So basically, half the damage he deals, he's recovering in life. He actually ends up healing a whole bunch, even though he's not doing a lot of damage. And he can pretty much self-sustain himself on this boss, like without any assistance from anyone, honestly. We're running a net for just extra heals, mostly just perked with some offensive stuff. She doesn't really help physical teams as much as she does magic teams, but we have her for the extra attack down, crit damage buff to the whole party, additional attack and attack speed when she overdrives, and mostly just looking for the extra cooldown on her S2, so that way she's cleansing and applying heal to the whole party as much as possible. Stat-wise, again, going for that high block amount because everyone's going to have to tank damage at least in the last phase of the fight. Now, a lot of people will say to use Evan, and there's definitely good arguments for Evan. I won't deny that Evan is a bit of a strong priest in this raid, depending on the compositions you run. However, because we are running Gao, and Gao has a significant defensive bonus to our party via his attack, defense penetration reductions, as well as his P-diff boost to the whole party, I find it completely safe to run without Evan. So we choose to run Mei. Now what Mei brings to this fight is her S2 has a 1% HP recovery every second for 10 seconds every time she casts it, and there's a 10% chance that the healing rate is double. Now this 1%, she's got heal rate increased 50%. I believe this increases it to a 1.5% heal per second. And then I'm running her UT2, which adds an additional 24% heal rate, so that brings it up to 1.74. Additionally, we run Peace of Mind, which adds another 1%, so she's healing 2.74% of every party member's life at all times. And then whenever she casts S2, she basically full heals everyone with her S2 cast. This is a 5-star Mei, so if you don't have a 5-star Mei, results may not be as strong as this, but she's actually still a pretty good healer just for the constant heal rate that she's providing. Additionally, Siegfried does have fairly high defense and is immune to shreds, so penetration buff from her S1 and the attack speed buff just for increasing the total number of attacks and attack speed allows the team to have an easier time to survive, as I do have every single member of the party suited up with lifesteal, so they will be using their auto attacks to sustain themselves in many cases. And Mei's mostly just there to heal as kind of a backup and just to keep the run stable. Now, wizard spot for physical comp's a little weird. There's a couple physical wizards that are okay to use. Kane's fairly decent, but I don't have my Kane really particularly well set up for this fight, and I've tried him a couple times, just hasn't really worked for me too well. Dockerus has some perks as far as his ability to heal, but he's mostly just going to heal to your front line, which usually doesn't need as much healing if you have them geared right. So it's kind of hard to find a wizard that really fits in with physical comps. So I'm running Esker and mostly running him as support. Yes, this is A2, but he's not here to deal damage. His primary goal is to be relatively tanky. His S4 gives him defense as the fight goes on. So this makes him much easier to gear than other wizards, as wizards have notoriously low physical defense. So Esker has that advantage where he just has higher defense than other wizards. Got him perked with Mortal Rise. He's mostly just here to kind of cast his buffs, mostly looking for his S2 for the attack and crit damage increase, as that just generally increases the party's damage output. Esker himself also has a fairly decent tempo on his basic attack, and he actually deals pretty decent damage on his auto attack. So him lifestealing is fairly functional. He's able to lifesteal pretty well. I am running a special perk page. I have a couple or 2 rune pages here. The second one here is just double P tough and lifesteal, just for this fight. And lastly, we're using Celine as the main DPS here. For stability reasons, I am running a bracelet on her, but we have done this fight without using the bracelet. It's just a little more risky. And I am using a Beast of Chaos Orb that has additional physical defense and a P resist. A lot of players choose to run a different rune slot where they or drop one of their attack runes for a P tough rune. There is a lot of success with that, but I'm just going with the orb just for simplicity, so that way I don't have to change runes. We are still able to cap crit. She has 500 crit. She gains an additional 200 when she gets 5 stacks of her Moonlight Arrow. It's plus 500, but then minus 300 from her T5 Dark. So that ends up with a total plus 200. Another 150 from Opportune Strike. That brings it to 350, so we're at 850, and then we get the last 150 from May's Priest perk, tier 2. Fantastic Hybrid Animals is honestly the go-to artifact for this fight for your DPS, as it provides some pretty substantial defensive layer to survive the fight. Alright, let's go ahead and watch this fight. So this is going to be full auto. I'm not going to control anything. I'm not even going to queue anything at the start of the fight. We're going to see heal rates. We're going to see everyone's healing. Everyone has lifesteal. Tally's obviously isn't particularly strong. She's not really set up offensively. But it's just a little something that kind of helps keep her up. But realistically, she's got more than enough survivability that she'll get the heals from Annette and May to keep her up. She doesn't really need to lifesteal too much on her own. But everyone else will lifesteal a decent amount. Gao, if his life gets low, he starts regenerating life from his T5 Dark. So usually don't have to bulk him up too much either, or make him do a lot of damage in order to sustain himself. You can see May is pumping out a ton of heals. That percent heal on the entire party going off constantly is definitely kicking a lot of heals going. So she's going to stay up strong there. Celine's going to be higher just because her damage output's so high. The lifesteal just makes her heal a ton. So don't always think that just because the highest HPS means that that's the person doing the party healing. It's not, because DPS damage is quite high. Now, advantage of bringing May over Evan, we get to take full advantage of May's full kit. So we got the attack speed, we got the penetration from her S1, we got her soul weapon giving attack power over time, and she's able to stack that up. Usually gets about 4 cast off before the fight ends, I believe. So she definitely adds a lot of attack power to your main DPS that Evan is not able to have. Damage will look kind of low at first. It took us about a minute and 15 seconds to take out that first life bar. But damage will start to go up as May and Esker start to get their buffs stacked up, and Celine's damage will start to pick up. Check those heal numbers again. Again, you see May's just kicking out a ton of heals to everyone. Everyone's life stealing. Got Gladdy healing 7 million HP a second because he's just punching the heck out of the boss and just recovering that 470% life steal. Even when the boss gets to his third phase and starts attacking even harder, you'll see he'll chunk Gladdy down and then Gladdy just heals himself. He gets smacked a bit, he starts punching, boom, full life, punch, full life, punch, full life. Basically unkillable. So that's pretty nice. I think that's the main thing to take away from this. So Siegfried is very much a classic tank and spank fight. The best way to build around it, in my opinion, is make sure your team has sufficient defense to not die, and then use life steal and high attack speed attacks to keep up the pressure and keep the life steal coming for your party. We want to show the lives here. You can see Celine now. This is the third phase, so now he's able to reach the back line. So he's smacking them too. So even when he's full comboing Celine, he can't really get her down under half. Damage-wise, Celine's definitely picked up a bit. She's at 300,000. We got 50 seconds left. Boss is at 58%. And yeah, with just all the defensive buffs, all the attack downs, we got attack down from Annette, we got attack down from Taylor, we got attack down from Gao. We got plenty of physical defense buffing from Taylor and Gao. Even when Siegfried gets the knockdown on Celine, she'll usually still survive. There's some times where she'll cast some weird skill order where she won't attack for a second, like S2 into S3 when she gets knocked down. And she might get comboed out while she's knocked down, but that's pretty rare, and just the combination of just running Maze heals, net heals, and net CC immunity very much limits the possibility of that happening. I found a lot of success. Oh, and you got Gao's cleanses from his S2, so sometimes he'll actually get everyone up right away.
Any good loot?
That's my run. Now, with Gao, I'd suggest even running him in magic comps, and I'm going to show you an example of a magic comp that we ran. It's with a A2 Aisha, who is, what I would say, is not a recommended hero for this fight, but we were able to do it successfully thanks to the defensive perks that Gao offers. Alright, so here's this magic run. Now, the main thing to take away here, again, we are using Mei for the penetration and attack speed buffs. We got Gao for the defensive offerings that he has. Miriam does not offer too much. She does have a block reduction, 500 M block reduction on her S1. But because stage 4 and up, Siegfried has 2000 block, the 500 block reduction actually doesn't do a whole lot compared to, say, Taylor's reducing block to 0. So it's just a minor increase. She doesn't offer any amps. Boss is immune to shred, and Miriam doesn't have any shreds. She has a shield on her S2, but the S2 gets destroyed by any attack from Siegfried. So she doesn't really offer too much to this fight, and she's not really doing a lot of damage. So she's just a kind of a filler spot that we're running. Epis would probably be better because Epis actually has amps. Epis also has shreds, but again, shred doesn't work on this boss. But at least Epis has a 30% amp on her S2, which is kind of better than anything else really you can get from the assassin class. Fortunately, there's not really a good support assassin in the game that I'm aware of, short of Gladdy, really, for his amps, but he's just physical side. And just like our fight with Celine, Aisha's damage isn't particularly high, and we do take a while to get through that first life bar. So yeah, it took almost a minute 20 seconds to get through that first bar. So this is a little starts out a little slower than the Celine. Again, Aisha is not a particularly strong DPS for this fight. I want to stress that she's not a good auto attack damage. Her being locked out messes with her ability to cast several of her skills. If she casts her soul weapon, which keeps her at full mana, she's guaranteeing herself being locked out almost entirely. Unless she happens to just cast a skill right at the exact moment that he goes for the final hit, which causes the lockout if they're at full mana. But if you cast a skill right at that exact moment when he goes for that animation to finish the last hit, you'll actually completely dodge the lockout because you lowered your mana from full. So just always have a skill ready if you're actually manually in this stage. But yeah, now we see Aisha's tearing through that life bar pretty good every time she's doing that S2 laser. She's taking a nice big chunk out of him. And she's getting enough attack speed that she's actually putting out some decent attacks. The interesting thing with Aisha is because there is a slight delay between her auto attack and when her S4 Mystic Barrage hits. I believe that's what it's called. Her S4 is... I'll just be sure of the name. Mystic Boost, sorry. Because there's a delay between when her auto attack hits and the Mystic Boost hit, the heals from lifesteal between those is actually separated. So I think she actually has a bit of an easier time lifestealing because her auto attacks and the Mystic Boost are spaced in between, and when she gets high enough attack speed buff from Mei and Gao's increases, she actually attacks at a decent enough tempo that she has a constant source of lifesteal coming in, even when she's auto attacking. And then her S1, S2, and S3 all are extremely high constant hit attacks, so those are all just constant lifesteal. So we're able to successfully farm it with this. And yeah, Aisha's damage gets decently up there. She finishes with a little... around the same time as the Celine clear. I think a little faster usually. So, again, this is kind of just showcasing that Gao's defensive side is an extremely strong benefit towards running Siegfried fight. We've tried running Priss. Priss definitely helps with damage output, but survivability is way more questionable and dodgy. So you have to bring like other heroes to make up for the defensive side. Whereas with running Gao, you free up other slots. Like we don't have to bring Evan for his defensive side. We can bring Mei, who brings way more offensive buffing. You can bring other priests that have offensive buffing if you want. If you want to be really crazy, you might even be able to get away with bringing a Lavrel and just have everyone life stealing to get through the fight and really increase your DPS's damage. So just want to showcase this, and you know, there's different guides out there that tell you to use Evan and use Priss and all these other comps and setups. Those aren't the only ways to succeed, and I just want to show that there are other ways to succeed and might even be more successful than what's being suggested out there.